Okay, so today is June 28th, 2021, and we could start with 3 bows to the Buddha. 1, 2, 3. And the salutation to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, so now we'll be continuing to read Majjhima Nikaya Sutta number 21. This is the Kakachupama Sutta, the simile of the saw. Okay, anybody volunteer to be the co-reader? Kim Allen, would you like to take that role today?
Okay, Bhante.
Okay. So the starting place will be at the line Tasmati Bhikkhave. Do you see that? Okay, so we start with Tasmati Bhikkhave.
Tasmatiha bhikkhave.
Just lower the volume. Tumhepi. I'm getting some. Okay, let me try again. Tumhepi akusalang pajahata.
Tumhepi akusalang pajahata.
Kusalesu dhammesu.
Kusalesu tamesu.
Ayogam karota.
Ayogam karota.
Evang hi tumhepi.
Evanghi tumhepi.
Imasmin dhamma vinaye.
Imasming dhammavinaye.
Vuding virulhing vipulam apajisata.
Vuding virulhing vepulang apajisata.
Okay, so now the Buddha is starting, this is a kind of injunction. So he starts with like, therefore, O monks, you too, then abandon, and this is an imperative form. You abandon the unwholesome. And then we have kusalesu dhammesu, in wholesome qualities or wholesome states. Ayogam karota. Ayoga is just an intensification of yoga in the sense of exertion. And karota is make. So make in exertion, put forth effort in wholesome qualities, wholesome states. Okay, so abandon the unwholesome and make an effort in regard to wholesome states. And thus, you too, in this Dhamma and discipline, will acquire or come to, then these words almost synonymous. Vudi, we could say, is growth. Virulhi, maybe development. Vepulam, maybe literally it's expansion. We could say, growth, increased growth and expansion, or increased growth and maturity. So any questions in regard to this? Grammatically, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, the word ayoga, I found the only other place where I know of it occurring is in the famous verse from the Dhammapada, Adicite cha ayogo. etang bhutana sasana. So effort or endeavor in regard to the higher mind. This is the Buddha's teaching. Okay, then we'll continue. Now we come to the simile. So sayatapi bhikkhave
Sayatapi bhikkhave.
gamasava nigamasava avidure
Kamasava nigamasava avidure.
mahantang salavana.
Mahantang salavanam.
So sayatapi is like suppose or imagine that, okay, we have avidure, which means not far away from, we can say in the vicinity of a gama, a village, or nikama, a town. There was a large or great salavana. So the sala is a kind of tree, I think it's a very large tree that grows in northern India. And vana is a grove. So this is a grove of sal trees, a large grove of sal trees. Then continuing, tanchasa elandehi sanchanam.
Tanchasa elandehi sanchanam.
Yeah, so the tongue here is referring to the sala grove. The cha is just and the asa is the optative, would be. So it would be. Sanchanam means like covered over, and is covered over with elan dehi. Venerable Jnana Moli had rendered this as castor oil. Castor oil weeds. Let me just look in the PTS dictionary. Yeah, the dictionary also gives the castor oil plant. So it's covered over with castor oil plants. Okay, then, okay, we continue reading. Tassa kochideva puriso upajaya.
Tassa kochideva puriso upajaya.
Attakamo hitakamo yoga kema kamo.
Atta kamo hita kamo yoga kema kamo.
Okay, so then a certain man would arise or would appear on the scene for the sal grove. And he is attakamo, that is, he desires its good. Hitakamo desires its welfare. Yoga kema kamo desires its security. We came across these expressions in relation to Sutta number 19 in the simile of the herd of deer towards the end of the sutta. Okay, so this man comes along who wishes to protect the sal trees. And so this is what he does. So yata sala latio.
So yata sala latio.
Kutila oja paharaniyo.
Kutila oja paharaniyo.
Ta shetva bahida ni hareya.
Ta chetva bahida nihareya.
Antovanang suvisuditam visodeya.
Anto vanang suvisoditang visodeya.
Okay, so we have in here the relative clause. So we'll just take this. So yata sala latio. So this is referring to the sala sprouts, the sprouts of the sal trees that are kutila, that are crooked, and oja paharanio. So this is a compound of oja plus, oops, yeah, oja, we translate this as nutritive essence. Maybe we could call it the sap. And apaharati, the verb apaharati, means to take away, to remove. And then this is an adjective formed on the basis of that verb. So it's that which takes away. So it's the saplings of the sal tree that are crooked and that are sort of consuming all of the vital nutritive essence. So those he would cut down, having cut them down. And this verb is also possible, found in the Sri Lankans. Actually, this is found in, maybe that verb is preferable, since we have it in 3 editions. It also means to cut down, in the sense of cutting with a hatchet or an axe. So having cut them down, and then bahida nihareya, he would remove them outside, take them outside the bounds of the sala grove. And then anto vanam, that which is inside, anto is inside, and vanang is the grove, that which is the inside the grove. Su visoditang visodeya. And this is a bit odd to our ears, a somewhat odd style of formulation used in Pali. Literally would be, he would purify or clean up that which was well cleaned up. But of course, that wouldn't make sense, because if it was already well cleaned up, there would be no need to further clean it up. But the sense, the intended sense, is simply that he would make that area thoroughly clean. He would clean it up. Maybe we could say he would clean it until it becomes thoroughly clean. Yeah, I recall several other examples of this kind of style of expression in Pali. So you shouldn't think that he's cleaning up an area that's already clean, since that would be unnecessary. But he's cleaning up that area to the point that it becomes thoroughly clean. Okay, and then continuing. So yapana ta sala latio,
Ya panata sala latio.
ujuka sujata ta sama parihareya.
Ujuka sujata ta samma parihareya.
Okay, so again, the yata is referring to the shoots of the sal tree, those sal shoots which are ujuka, which are straight, and sujata, literally well born. How did Yanamoli have this? Yeah, he had well-formed, the straight, well-formed saplings. Those samma parihareya. Samma is properly or thoroughly, and parihareya, something like maintain, or we could say look after. So those shoots of the sal tree that are straight and well-formed, those he would thoroughly or carefully look after. So any questions so far about words or grammar here? Okay, and then actually we just have one more sentence to complete the simile. Evam hetam bhikkhave
Evam hetam bhikkhave
salavanam
salavanam
aparena samayena vuding. Okay, aparena samayena
aparena samayena
vuding virulhing vepulam apajeya.
vuting virulhing vepalang apajeya.
And so thus, O monks, this sal grove, aparena samayena, at a later time would come upon growth, increase, and expansion. And then completing the simile, this is just repeating what we already came across. So evam evam, the same way, O monks, you too abandon the unwholesome, make an effort in regard to wholesome qualities, and thus you too will come upon growth, increase, and expansion or fulfillment in this Dhamma and discipline. Any questions up to this point? Okay, then we could go into, now we're going to get to this little story. And the little story uses very vernacular kinds of expression, very colloquial expressions, as though the text is imitating kind of speech, almost like street language. Okay, so this is section 226. Bhuta pubang bhikkhave
Bhuta pubang bhikkhave
ima sayeva savatya
imisayeva savatiya
vedehika nama gahapatani ahosi.
vedehika nama gahapatani ahosi.
Okay, so this expression bhuta pubang is something like our expression when telling a story, once upon a time. Literally, bhuta is there was, pubang in the past. So once upon a time, O monks, in this very same Savatthi, there was a Gahapatani. Gahapatani is the female counterpart of Gahapati. Gahapati is a householder, but the male householder, and Gahapatani is a female householder. Nyanamoli used housewife, but I think the expression applies something like an elevated status, upper middle class, something like that. So, and her name was Vedehika. And then Vedehikaya Bhikkhave Gahapataniya
Vedehikaya bhikkhave gahapataniya
Evam Kalyano Kiti Saddo Abhugato.
evam kalyano kiti saddo abhugato.
Okay, so of this housewife named Vedehika, such a good Kiti Saddo was like a report Usually it's like a report of praise. So in the case of the Buddha, it's always said that Evam Kalyano Kiti Saddo Abu Gachiti, such a good report was circulating around. And then Abu Gatto is the past participle of Abu Gachiti, which means to spread around, to circulate. I think it's always used in relation to a report. So such a good report was circulating about the housewife Vedehika. And this is a report. Sorata Vedehika Gahapatani.
Sorata Vedehika Gahapatani.
Nivata Vedehika Gahapatani.
Nivata Vedehika Gahapatani.
Upasanta Vedehika Gahapatani.
Upasanta Vedehika Gahapatani.
Okay, so the word Sorata means gentle. It's originally from Su plus Rata. So gentle, but it takes on its own meaning. The meaning is something like gentle. And it's an adjective here, feminine singular, because it's qualifying Vedehika. So the housewife, Vedehika, is gentle. Nivata, so she's humble. Nivata means humble. And Upasanta is like peaceful, or maybe in this context, mild-mannered. So the housewife, Vedehika, is gentle, humble, and mild-mannered. But there's trouble about to break out because Vedehikaya Kopana Bhikkhave Gahapataniya.
Vedehikaya Kopana Bhikkhave Gahapataniya.
Kali Nama Dasi Ahosi.
Kali Nama Dasi Ahosi.
Dakha Analasa Susang Vihita Kamanta.
Daka Analasa Susang Vihitika Kamanta.
Good.
Vihiti Kamanta.
Yeah, good. Okay, so the housewife Vedehika, literally it's of the housewife Vedehika, there was. Then we have the word dasi, which is a female slave. Male slave is dasa. And the female slave is dasi. And in India at that time, of course, slavery was quite widespread. Okay, so there was a female slave and her name was Kali. And then she is described as Dakha. Dakha, I think the Sanskrit, this is Daksha, is like skillful or clever. Adalasa is diligent. And Susamvihita, this is a Bahubihi compound. Kamanta is work. And Su is well or good. And Samvihita is arranged. So her work was well arranged. In other words, she did everything properly. All of her work was of very high quality. So she was skillful, not lazy, but diligent, and very capable, very competent in her work. So any questions on this so far?
Miss Bante?
Yeah.
Gahapataniya Evam Kalyano. Is the Pataniya locative or genitive?
I believe it's genitive. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's genitive. But we could check
So it's not like in regard to, because the English rendering is about.
Yeah, just so if I could get the same thing in regard to the Buddha, often we get that Kalyado Kittisado. So let me just do a quick search. Wow, this is interesting. Yeah, this is from the Panaka Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, the beginning of Sutta number 60. What I found it's a little confusing, but it has it in the accusative case, tang bhavantang Gautamam evam kalyano kittisado abhugato. Now I'm curious. I'm wondering if how it works in other Nikayas, if it's always consistent. We get it often in the Digha Nikaya, Samanyapala Sutta. Yeah, I see it has the accusative. Let's see if there's another Nikaya. But this is, again, this is something interesting. In a sutta in the Sangyutta Nikaya, this must be the Gamini Sangyutta. The Jain leader, the Nigantanata Putta, is persuading one of his disciples to go to the Samana Gautama, to go to the Buddha and refute his doctrine. And then it says, Evang te kalyana sado abu gachisati. So here it must be genitive, thus a good report will spread around about you. And then also in Sangyutta Nikaya, this is in reference to the bhikkhuni named Kema. This seems to be a genitive also. Thus, of that ayah, of that venerable bhikkhuni, such a good report has spread about. Yeah, so it seems, it's interesting that that expression can take its object or its subject either as accusative, as here, or I would say as genitive. There's an occurrence in the Anguttara Nikaya. Let's just take a quick look. In relation to the Buddha, again, it's accusative. Again, accusative. In Sutta Nipata, in relation to the Buddha, accusative. Okay, so any other questions? Yeah, anyway, in this case, in our sutta, I would say that it's genitive. Any other questions? If not, then we continue. Okay, so now, Attiko Bhikkhave Kaliya Dasya Etadahosi.
Attako bhikkhave kalya dasya etadahosi.
So then she thinks, Maiham ko ayaya evam kalyano kiti saddo abugato.
Maiham ko ayaya evam kalyano kitisado abhugato.
Okay, so then this occurs to the female slave Kali. She thinks, of my mistress, such a good report has spread around. And then it just repeats the report. You don't have to read that together. Okay, then she goes on to think, Kin nu ko me aya
King nuko me aya
santam yeva nuko ajitang kopang na patu karoti.
santam yeva nuko ajatang kopang na patu karoti.
Udahu asantam.
Udahu asantam.
Udahu maiham ete kamanta susamvihita.
Udahu maihang ev ete kamanta susang vihita.
Yena me aya santam yeva ajitam kopam na patu karoti no asantam.
Yena me aya santam yeva ajatang kopang na patu karoti no asantam.
Yeah, we might as well finish her stream of thought. Yang nu naham ayam vimangseyanti.
Yang nu nahang ayang vimangseyanti.
Okay, so she thinks that in the case for the word aya here has a sense of noble lady, and it's referring to Vedehika. So for my noble lady, for my mistress, such a good report has spread around. Now she's thinking, kin nu ko, so is it the case that my lady does not yeah, maybe it's best that I parse it word for word and then put it together. Okay, so we have santam here, and this santam is the present participle accusative case of the verb ati. So it's present participle accusative singular, meaning existing, and it's qualifying kopang. Kopang is anger. And then the yeva is just emphatic, like really existing. Then achitam is internally. Then kopang is anger. Na patu karoti. Patu karoti is to display, to show, to express. So is it the case that my mistress does not express existing, does not express anger existing internally? Or is it the case that it is non-existent? Or is it the case that for me, that these works of mine are well arranged or well executed, well performed, and because of which my mistress does not display existing anger internally, does not display internal anger, or does not display existing internal anger, and not the case that it is not existing. It seems a rather convoluted way of expressing the idea, but that's what's in the text. Let's see if we could put it into normal English. Let's see how Venerable Nyanamboli have it. So how is it now, while she does not show anger, is it nevertheless actually present in her, or is it absent? Or else is it just because my work is neat that my lady shows no anger, though it is actually present in her? And not non-existent. And then she thinks the Yandu Naham is like, let me now. So let me now, vimang zayam, this is to investigate. So let me now, the ahang is the subject, I. Let me now investigate the lady. So any questions about this?
And take
Yeah.
for that santang. I know the nominative present participle has a short form,
Yeah.
but does accusative also have the short form santang?
No, no.
So if we take it as accusative, then there's no short form. How could it be accusative present participle?
Santang is the proper accusative of the present participle.
So there is accusative form.
This is the accusative, santang.
I thought it's the short form of san tan tang. So for nominative, there's a short form and it's santang. But for accusative, there.
I think maybe in regard to this verb, let me just, I think there's only santo as the nominative. I don't think that there's, in this case, in the case of this verb, I don't think that there is a short form. Let me just check the grammar.
Okay, my question is then, what's the present participle of ati?
You mean in the nominative?
Right.
Santo.
Oh,
Let me just check the dictionary. Yeah, it would just be Santa. Santa is the stem form.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, the stem form would be Santa, which then become not Santa Claus. Then the nominative is Santo, and accusative is Santa. And then there's another form based on the present participle with mana. It would be Samano, and then that would be the nominative. And then the accusative would be Samana. Yeah, so those would be the forms. And you have to be a little careful here, because if you remember, we have in the report about this lady, one of the adjectives used to describe her is upasanta, which is a completely different word and has no relation to the present participle santa. Upasanta in Sanskrit, it would become upashanta. And it's based on the roots sham, which means to be peaceful. Whereas this santo or santam is based on the verb ati, to be. Okay, so any other questions on this? Okay, so the maid, Das, the Kali, is going to test her mistress. And so the story continues. Attako bhikkhave Kali dasi diva utasi.
Attako bhikkhave Kali dasi diva uttasi.
So now Kali gets up or wakes up. Diva is literally, it's an indeclinable, meaning by day or during the day. In other words, she sleeps, I don't know, maybe till 9 a.m. or so, 8 or maybe 8 a.m. Whereas like in the traditional Asian country, they would expect the servant woman to be up at daybreak, 5 a.m., getting the breakfast ready. So she gets up during the day, or sometime in the morning, and then Attako bhikkhave vedehika gahapatani kaling dasing eta devocha.
Attako bhikkhave vedehika gahapatani kaling dasing etadavocha.
Okay, so then the mistress, Vedehika, says this to Kali, to the servant woman. And here the language becomes very vernacular, very coarse vernacular. Hey, Jay Kali.
Hey Jay Kali.
Yeah, it's like in English, like saying, hey, Kali. And then she says, King IAT.
King IAT.
Yeah, what is it, madam? King J Diva Utasiti.
King J Diva Utasiti.
Why? And then the J, it's not translatable, but it's like a disparaging tone to it. Maybe like, to put it in English, what the hell are you doing getting up during the late in the morning? Why are you getting up late? And then she says, okay, we'll just take the Burmese reading. No, it's easier to see with me. Nako aye kinchiti.
Nako aye kinchiti.
Yeah, aye, by the way, is the vocative form of aya. This is the form used for direct address. And then what she says is just na kinchi, which is not anything. But it's like saying, oh, no reason. And then the mistress gets angry and says, no vatere kinchi papi dasi diva utasiti.
No vatare kinchi papi dasi diva utasiti.
Like, for no reason, you bad slave, you get up during the day. And then kupita anattamana bakuting akasi. I think.
Kupita anatta mana vakuting akasi.
Yeah, let's We'll just go with the Sri Lankan here. Okay, so kupita is angry, anattamana is displeased, and then bukuti is a frown, and then akasi, she made. So she made a frown, simply she frowned. Okay, so then continuing with the story. Attako bhikkhave,
Attako bhikkhave,
Kaliya dasya etadahosi.
Kaliya dasya etadahosi.
Santang yeva kome aya, ajatam kopang na patu karoti. No asantang.
Santam yeva kome aya ajatang kopang na patu karoti no asantam.
Maham ave ete kamanta su sangvihita.
Maihang ev ete kamanta su sangvihita.
Yena me aya santang yeva ajatam kopang na patu karoti.
Yena me aya santam yeva ajatang kopang na patu karoti
No asanta.
no asantam.
Yanu naham bioso mataya ayam vimansayanti.
Yam nunahang biyo somataya ayang vimang seyanti.
Okay, so then this occurred to the female slave Kali. So now she thinks that my mistress does not display internal anger or anger that is existing internally. It's not that it's non-existing. Then she thinks, my work, these works of mine are well executed, well arranged, and because of this, my mistress does not display existing anger that exists internally, not that it is non-existing. So then she thinks, let me now, then bioso mataya is a kind of idiom or an adverb meaning to a greater extent, even more. So let me now test or investigate my mistress even further, to an even greater extent. Okay, so then Attako bhikkhave Kali dasi divatarang yeva utasi.
Attako bhikkhave Kali dasi divatarang yeva utasi.
Okay, so then the slave woman Kali got up, and then the tara here is comparative. It's a comparative suffix. So the sense would be even later during the day. So if previously she got up, let's say 8 a.m., now she's remaining in her bed until 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m. Okay, so then this we could just go through quickly. So then the mistress, Hedehika, said this to the slave woman Kali. Again, it's, hey, Kali. And she says, what is it, lady? And then she says, why do you get up even later? And then she replies, oh, it's nothing, lady. And then she says, you say something like, nothing indeed, you bad slave woman, that you get up even later. And then we just do this, kopita anattamana. You could,
Kupita anattamana,
anattamana vacham nicharesi.
Anatta manavachang nicharesi.
Yeah, so then she's angry, displeased, and she utters, that's the verb nichareti, is to utter. She utters anatta mana vacha. So vacha is word or speech. So she utters words of displeasure. Okay, so this part is the same as what we had above. Okay, so then it occurs to the slave woman Kali that my lady does not display existing anger that is existing internally, not that it is non-existing, but it is because my works are well arranged, all of these works of mine are well arranged, that she doesn't display that internal anger. And then she thinks, let me test the lady to an even greater extent. Okay, then this I'll just go through it in English since it's repetitive. Okay, so then the slave woman Kali got up still later in the day. So now maybe she's remaining in bed till 10 a.m. And then the housewife Videva says to him, hey, Kali, what is it, lady? And it seems to me that, I don't know if the text is defective. It seems that it should have said Diva Tarang Yeva, but it just says Diva. So why, but I'll translate as though it said still later. Why do you get up still later in the day? And then she says, it's nothing, lady. And then, what do you mean it's nothing? You say it's nothing, you bad slave girl, that you get up later during the day. Okay, then Kupito Nattamana. Yeah, that we could read.
Kupita anatamana.
Agala Suching Gahedva.
Agala suching gahetva.
Sise Baharang Adasi.
Sise paharang adasi.
Sisang Vobindi.
Sisang vopindi.
Okay, so the housewife now is angry and displeased, and then having taken something called an Agala Suchi. I think Nyanamoli had translated that as a rolling pin, but it's not really exactly what a rolling pin. Yeah, she took a rolling pin, but it's maybe a slab, a metal rod, which is used as a bolt for a door bolt, maybe you could say. So she took a door bolt, having taken a door bolt, and then she gave her slave woman a blow over the head. And then she sisang vobindi. So this would be, it sounds like she broke her head, but actually it's, since the slave woman could run around and speak, it's not that she broke her skull, but I guess she caused a wound on the head, sort of split the skin so that blood was flowing. So she injured her head. And then continuing, Attako Bhikkhave,
Atako bhikkhave.
Kali Dasi Binena Sisena,
Kali dasi binena sisena.
Lohitena Galantena,
Lohitena galantena.
Pati Visakanam Ujapesi,
Pati visakanang uchapesi.
Pasataye Sorataya Kamam,
Pasataye sorataya kamang.
Pasataye nivataya kamam.
Pasataye nivataya kamam.
Pasataye upasantaya kamam.
Pasataye upasantaya kamam.
Katanghi nama
Katanghi nama.
ekadasi kaya
Ekadasi kaya.
diva utasiti kupita anatamana
Diva utasiti kupita anatamana.
ugala suching gahetva
Agala suchingahetva.
sise baharang dasati
Sise paharam dasati.
sesang vobindisati.
Sisang vopindisati.
Okay, so then the slave woman Kali, with a split head, with the injured head, and with blood flowing. Galantena is the present participle going with lohitena. So I guess the verb would be galati, to flow. So with blood flowing, she complained. Ujapesi is ujapeti, to complain to the neighbors. And she says, see, lady, she's addressing each of the neighbors. See, lady, kamam, the deed so retire of the gentle one. See, lady, the deed of the humble one. See, lady, the deed of the peaceful or mild-mannered one. How now can she become angry with her only slave, saying, become angry with the thought she got up late, becoming angry and displeased, and having taken a doorbolt will give her, this is a future form in the sense of complaining, will give her a blow on the head and will split her head. So any questions about this? All clear? Okay.
Bante, you say it's in the future tense because she is complaining, but
It's sort of like,
that has happened.
yeah. In English, it would be something like we would say, how could she give me a blow on the head? But in Pali, it will use the future, but it's not, but here the future tense is not referring to an event that might take place in the future. The event has already happened, but it's like, how could she do such a thing like that? Do you get the sense?
Bhante, could it also explain a habit, the future?
No, I don't think it's a habit.
Okay.
Let me see if I could get this kind of explanation of the use of the future. Yeah, I just don't know how to express this use. Let's just see. Yeah, I don't find I'm looking at Duracell's polygram. I don't find this explanation or this use of the future. But just take it that and trust that in English it's the equivalent of saying like, okay, so how could she give me a blow on the head? It's something that's taken place in the past, but it's inquiring into the possibility of it. During the break, I'll try to find this use of the future. It's one of the other grammars. Okay, so just let's wrap up this little story. So Attako Bhikkhave,
Attako bhikkhave,
Vedehi Kaya Gahapataniya,
vedehi kaya gahapataniya,
Aparena Samayena,
aparena samayena,
Evang Papako Kittisado Abugachi,
evang papako kittisado apugachi,
Chandi Vedehika Gahapatani,
chandi vedehika gahapatani,
Anivata Vedehika Gahapatani,
anivata vedehika gahapatani,
An- an- Anupasanta Vedehika Gahapatani.
anupasanta vedehika agahapatani.
Okay, so Aparena Samayena means at a later time about the mistress Vedehika, such a bad report was spread around. So people were now saying that the housewife Vedehika is Chandi. Chandi is like fierce or violent, that she's violent. Anivata, she's not humble. Anupasanta, she's not peaceful or calm or not mild-mannered. Okay, and now the Buddha is going to apply this to the case of the monks. He says, Evam eva ko bhikkhave,
Evameva ko bhikkhave,
ide kacho bhikkhu,
ide kacho bhikkhu,
tavadeva sorato hoti.
tavadeva sorato hoti,
Nivato hoti.
nivata hoti,
Upasanto hoti.
upasanto hoti,
Yava na amanapa vachanapata pusanti.
yavana amanapa vachanapata pusanti.
Okay, so evam eva is in the same way. Then here, a certain monk. Okay, so the tavadeva is a demonstrative used in relation to yava. Yava has a sense as so long as, and tavadeva is just for so long. Maybe we wouldn't have to translate both of them here. So here, a certain monk is sorato. So the repetition is used to indicate the sense of extremely. So the monk is extremely gentle. Nivato, extremely humble. Upasanto, extremely calm or extremely mild-mannered. Yava na manapa vachanapata pusanti, as long as disagreeable, that's amanapa, vachanapata. Literally, it's pathways of speech. But we would just say words or speech, as long as disagreeable words do not pusanti, do not touch him, do not affect, do not strike against him, do not reach him. In other words, as long as he's not exposed to disagreeable words, to criticism, denigration, verbal abuse, and so on, for just so long, this monk is extremely gentle, extremely humble, extremely mild-mannered. But then the Buddha continues, Yato cha bhikkhave,
Yatocha bhikkhave,
bhikkhum amanapa vachanapata pusanti,
bhikkhum amanapa vachanapata pusanti,
atta bhikkhum soratoti veditabbo,
atta bhikkhu soratoti veditabo,
nivatoti veditabbo,
nivatoti veditabo,
upasantoti veditabbo.
upasantoti veditabo.
Okay, so the yato, here the cha has the sense more of but than and. So but when disagreeable courses of speech touch or strike a monk, then that monk can be known or understood to be gentle, can be understood to be humble, can be understood to be peaceful. And then continuing, Nahang tang bhikkhave bhikkhum
Nahang tang bhikkhave bhikkhum
suvachoti vadami,
suvachoti vadami,
yo chivara pindapata
yo chivara pindapata,
senasana gilana pachaya
senasana gilana pachaya,
besajja parikara hetu
vesaja parikara hetu,
suvacho hoti
suvacho hoti,
sovacha satam apajati.
sovacha satam apajati.
Okay, so now the Buddha is saying, I do not, first let me take this word suvacho. I'm not sure if I explained it in this class or not, but it comes from su, which means good or well, plus vacha, which means word. So literally it's good word or good speech, but it doesn't mean that the monk is one who is a good speaker, but the sense is easy to speak to, easy to correct. Let's say it meant being open to advice from others. That is the sense. So here the Buddha is saying, I do not call a monk open to advice or easy to speak to if he is easy to speak to on account of or because of role, that's chivara. We have here the four requisites. A robe, alms food, senasana is the dwelling place, and gilana pachaya vesacha parikara. These are requisites for the sick, medicines and requisites for the sick. Those are the four so-called requisites of the monastic life. So I do not call a monk easy to speak to if he is easy to speak to on account of robes, alms food, dwelling place, and medicinal requisites. And sovacha satan, and he acquires the state of being easy to speak to. And then he brings up the question, tongue kisa hetu. So what is,
Hetu.
yeah, so what is the reason for that? And then he gives the reason. Let me break this up. Tongue hiso bhikkhave bhikkhu,
Tan hiso bhikkhave bhikkhu.
chivara pindapata senasana,
Shivara pindapata senasana.
kilana pachaya,
Gilana pachaya.
besajja parikaram, alabamano,
Vesaja parikarang alabamano.
na suvacho hoti, na sovachasatang apajati.
Na suvacho hoti. Na sovachasatang apajati.
Okay, so what is the reason for that? Because that monk, then alabamano, not obtaining, I guess the tongue goes with all of this, chivara pindapata and so on. Because that monk not getting robe, alms food, dwelling place, or the supports for the sick and medicinal requisites, not getting those items is not easy to speak to and does not acquire the quality of being easy to speak to. Yeah, so in this case, the monk is easy to speak to. That is, when he gets all of his requisites, when he's able to live comfortably and has all of his sort of material desires are fulfilled, then he's easy to speak to, easy to correct. But when he doesn't get these requisites, then he probably becomes easy to get angry, upset, and even become spiteful. So any questions grammatically about this?
Bhante, I'm sorry, it's a very rudimentary question. What is ruhetu? Following following pacheya, besaja, parika, and then there's this ruhetu.
Yeah, so what is the question?
What does it mean? What does this word mean?
Oh, okay, yeah, to break up this compound. Okay,
Yeah. The compound, it's a very lengthy compound.
yeah, it's a lengthy compound. First, there's actually two parts to it.
Uh-huh.
Kilana pacheya. So in this case, a pacheya is a supporting condition, and kilana is sick, a patient. So these are supporting conditions for a patient.
Yes.
And then besaja is medicine,
Yeah.
and parikara is the requisite. So this would be
I got it. I got it.
the requisite of medicine. So, but all of these two are grouped together as the fourth of the four requisites. So translating very literally, the requisites or the supports of a patient and the requisites of medicine.
I see.
But they all go together as one.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. I cut the section wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, any other questions? Maybe we could do the last paragraph of this section. This shouldn't be too long. Okay. Yo chako bhikkhave bhikkhu
Yochako bhikkhave bhikkhu
dhammang yeva sakaronto
dhammang yeva sakaronto
dhammang garum karonto
dhammang garum karonto
dhammang manento
dhammang manento
dhammang pujento
dhammang pujento
dhammang apachayamano
dhammang apachayamano.
Oh, I see. The Sinhalese and PTS have a simpler form. They don't have this. And they have Garu Karunta. Anyway, we just keep it. Okay, we just keep this one. Dhammanga Pachayamana. Suvacha Uhoti. Suvacha.
Suvacho.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Suvacha. Sovachasatam apajati.
Suvacho hoti sovachasatang apajati.
Tamaham
Apajati.
suvachoti vadami.
Tamahang suvacho ti vadami.
Okay, so the monk who then Sakaronto is honoring. So honoring just the Dhamma. Then Dhammang Garu Karonto, we say respecting the Dhamma. Manento, maybe esteeming the Dhamma. Dhammang Pujento, venerating the Dhamma. Dhammang Apachayamano. I'm running out of words, meaning respect, esteem, revering the Dhamma. Okay, so the monk who honors the Dhamma, respects the Dhamma, esteems the Dhamma, venerates the Dhamma, reveres the Dhamma, who doing these things is suvacho, easy to speak to, and sovacha sattatam apajati, who acquires that quality of being easy to speak to. He is the one that I call suvacho, easy to speak to. And then the Buddha says, tasmati ha bhikkhave,
Tasmati ha bhikkhave
dhammang yeva sakaronta,
tamang yeva sakaronta
dhammang garu karonta,
tamang garum karonta
dhammang manita,
tamang maninta
dhammang pujenta,
tamang pujenta
dhammang apachayamana,
tamang apachayamana
suvacha bhavisama,
suvacha bhavisama
sovachasatam apachisamati,
sovachasatang apajisamati
evang hivo bhikkhave sikitapam.
evang hivo bhikkhave sikitabam.
So then the Buddha sort of again draws the conclusion, therefore, O monks. Then I would jump to the last clause, which should actually be part of the same sentence. Literally, it should be trained by you thus. I think I pointed out earlier that this is the idiomatic way of the style of expression in Pali. But in English, we would put it in the sense of, we would render, you should train thus. So therefore, O monks, you should train thus. Honoring just the Dhamma, respecting the Dhamma, esteeming the Dhamma, venerating the Dhamma, revering the Dhamma, we will be easy to speak to, and we will acquire that quality of being easy to speak to. Okay, any questions here? Okay, I'll count to 3 for questions. 1,
Bante,
Yeah.
how do you break the word apchayamanu?
Apachayamano.
Yeah, this seems to be a present participle. But what would be the verb for?
Yeah. Apachayati. Let me just look it up in the dictionary. I know there's a noun. Okay, here it is. Apachayati. And it's from, I say it's upper from chi. Apachayati, and it's from upper plus chi. And then from this, we also get the noun apachaya, meaning, again, reverence or respect. Okay, any other questions?
Bante,
Bante,
Yeah.
Bante, it's okay. All these present participles like sakaronta, koronta,
Yeah,
maneta, they are third person plural, right?
right. Those are third person. Wait. In the first part with the O ending, sakaronto, it's first person singular. But here with this ending, because here he's speaking to the monks collectively, here he's speaking about one monk, but here he's saying you to all of the monks. So it uses koronta, the plural form.
Okay, so it becomes first person plural, and therefore it matches with the Bawi Sama, right? First,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Bandit.
Okay, any further questions?
Bante, does this last paragraph connect with the simile of Kalidasi? In the sense, like if you have anger that's existing but not being displayed, is this the idea that somehow being easy to speak to comes from
Yeah,
having
yeah, it's just
fear
that,
in the Dharma?
yeah, like in this case, the monk who everybody regards as being gentle and humble and so forth, when he's fully endowed with the requisites, that is like Vedehika, the house lady, who is reputed to be gentle and peaceful when everything is going her way, when her servant is serving her properly. But then when the servant sleeps late, then she becomes angry. So that is like the monk who is easy to speak to when he's getting everything he wants. But when he doesn't get the things he wants, then he becomes difficult to speak to. Okay, I think we'll have to take a break now, 2:28. 2:35 we'll resume. So a 7-minute break. Okay, we're going to resume now. And I think you can see the text for the Sutta Nipata. See it?
Yes, Bante.
Okay. Yeah, I
Bhante?
found,
Oh,
Wait.
sorry.
yeah, during the break, I looked up in another grammar, in Herniola's Pali grammar, for that use of the future. And I found it good. It didn't give much of an explanation, but it said the future is used in sentence beginning with kutopana, like asking a question, or yatrahi nama, kind of explanation. And it gives some examples Yeah, it's often that kind of future is used in the Vinaya when lay people are complaining about the behavior of the monks. In this, Rambha gives an example where they say, Katang hi nama samana sakyaputiya batage na anu modi santi. So the verb here is anu modi santi, a future of anumodati, which means literally to rejoice with. But it takes on a special meaning of giving thanks in the sense of a short discourse at the end of a meal. So that people are complaining, how can these recluses, that's the Buddhist monks, not give thanks in the dining room, that is after a meal? So the lay people complain like this, and they complain to the Buddha, and then the Buddha will lay down the rule that after lay people offer a meal, monks should give the anumodana, which comes to mean nowadays like chanting some verses of blessing.
Ante,
Yeah,
I found something different. I looked it up in a new course in reading Pali,
yeah,
and they say on page 127,
yeah.
the future tense may be also used to indicate probability or a general truth. And I thought a general truth as far as behavior is concerned, this might be a habit or character.
No,
So
I don't
this
think,
says it's probability or a general truth
no,
as well as indicating future time.
no, I don't, I mean, that might be the case, but I don't think that applies
Yeah,
to
okay.
instances. This is just one occasion, not a general
Yeah,
activity.
yeah.
Just she gave her a blow with over the head.
yeah.
So it's like complaining. How could she do something like that? In English, we would use that form could, but in Pali, the future will be used. Okay, I think we have to leave that behind. Come to the Sutta Nipata. So now we're studying a new sutta. We're still in chapter 1. And this is sutta number 10, called the Alavaka Sutta, which also occurs in the Samyutta Nikaya. And so we can read together. Okay. Evang me sutang,
Evang me sutang,
ekang samayang bhagava,
ekang samayang bhagava,
alavyang viharati,
alavyang viharati,
alavakasa yakasa bhavane.
alavakasa yakasa bhavane.
Yeah, so on one occasion, the Blessed One, the Buddha, was living near a city called Alavi, and he was staying in the dwelling of a yaka, that's a kind of demonic being. And he seems to be named Alavaka, though maybe he didn't really have a proper name, but he was just given that name because he was near the city of Alavi. So the demon of Alavi. But it comes to be understood as his name. Yeah, in fact, it's referred to as it's treated as his name. So Attako Alavako Yako Yena Bhagavate Nupasankami.
Attako alavako yako yena bhagavate nupasankami.
Upasankamitva Bhagavantang Etadavocha.
Upasankamitva bhagavantang etadavocha.
Nikama Samanati.
Nikama samana.
Sad Avusoti Bhagava Nikami.
Sadavusoti bhagava nikami.
Pavisa Samanati.
Pavisa samanati.
Sad Avusoti Bhagava Pavisi.
Sadavusoti bhagava pavisi.
Okay, so at the beginning, the demon Alavaka comes up to the Buddha and says to him, depart, get out, ascetic. And then the Blessed One says, Sad, this is a short for sadhu, in the sense of okay, friend, the Blessed One says that, then he goes out. Nikami, this is the aorist form. And then the demon says, Pavisa, that is enter, come in, ascetic. Again, the Buddha says, yes, okay, friend. And the Buddha goes in. And then this goes on the second time, the third time. You don't have to read that together. Then the fourth time, the demon Alavaka says to the Buddha, get out, ascetic. And now the Buddha says, Na Kwavaham Tang Avuso Nikami Sami. Yeah.
Nakwahang tam avuso nikami sami.
Yang te karaniyam tang karohi.
Yang te karaniyang tang karohi.
So the kwahang is just ko ahang, just emphatic. And he says, I will not go out. I don't know what the tongue is here. It seems almost gratuitous. It doesn't serve any function. He says, I will not go out. Maybe it could represent from here. In any case, then he says, Yang te karaniyam. So literally, what is to be done by you, do that. In other words, do whatever you will. Do whatever you want, but I'm not going out. I just want to see if I can find that explanation of that. There's a long, long story behind this, which you can find in the commentary to the Sutta Nipata. It seems that even the yes, even the commentary doesn't explain the tongue. Okay, anyway, so the Buddha says, I will not go out, friend. Do whatever is to be done by you. Okay, then Alavaka says, Panhang tang samana puchi sami.
Panhang tang samana puchi sami.
Sache me na vyakarisasi. Shita. Okay, yeah. Okay, go on.
Sache me na vyakarisasi.
Chitang vate kipi sami.
Chitang vate kipi sami.
Hadayang vate pale sami.
Hadayang vate pale sami.
Padesu va gahetva para gangaya kipi sami.
Padesuva gahetva para gangaya kipi sami.
Okay, so now the yaksha says, I will ask tongue, here the tongue is you. I will ask you a question. Panhang is a question. Ascetic. So if you will not, or maybe cannot answer me, so Vyakarisati is to answer. If you will not answer me, then I will, literally, I will throw your mind maybe we could take this to mean I will overturn your mind. In other words, drive you insane. Or Hadayam Pale Sami, I will split your heart. Or, the va is or, having grabbed you around the feet, on the feet, Kipi Sami, I will throw you Para Gangaya, to the other shore of the Ganges River. So if you cannot answer me, I will overturn your mind, in other words, drive you insane, or I will split your heart, or having grabbed you by the feet, I will throw you to the other shore of the Ganges River. Okay. Then the Buddha says, Na kwa vaham tang avuso pasami.
Na kvahang tang avuso pasami.
Sadevake loke,
Sadevake loke,
samarake sapramake,
samarake sabramake,
sasamana brahmaniya pajaya,
sasamana brahmaniya pajaya,
sadeva manusaya,
sadeva manusaya,
yo me chitang va kipeya,
yo me chitang va kipeya,
hadayan va paleya,
hadayang va paleya,
padesu va gahetva,
padesu va gahetva,
para gangaya kipeya.
para gangaya kipeya.
Okay, so the Buddha, he addresses the yaksha as avuso, friend, and he says, I, that's the aham, then the negation na, do not pasami see. I do not see, tongue is here is one, anyone. I do not see anyone in the world. And then the world is qualified by these adjectives. Sadevake, so this means with the devas, with the deities. Samarake, together with Mara, the evil one. Sabramake, together with Brahma, with Mahabrahma. Or in Pajaya, we say Pajaya as the population, and the population is described as with samana, with ascetics and with Brahmins, and it becomes, the compound ends in iya because it's treated as a feminine singular adjective in the locative case qualifying Pajaya. So sasamana brahmaniya is an adjectival compound. I guess this would be a bahubihi compound, qualifying Pajaya, feminine singular noun in the locative. And then similarly, Sadeva Manusaya is also a bahubihi compound, feminine locative, also qualifying Pajaya. So there are actually two nouns here, both in the locative, loke and Puja, or Pajaya. So loke is described by Sadevake, Samarake, Sabramake. And then Pujaya, this population, is described by Sasamana Brahmaniya, together with its ascetics, Brahmins, and Sadeva Manusaya, together with its deities and human beings. So I do not see one in the world so described, or in the population so described, who could overthrow my mind, or who could split my heart, or having grabbed me around the feet, could throw me to the other side of the Ganges River. But the Buddha says, Api chatvang avuso pucha yad akankasiti.
Api cha tvang avuso pucha yad akankasi.
Okay, so what the Buddha says, api cha is like, nevertheless, however. And he says, ask, friend, yad akankasi. Yad represents young, whatever akankasi you wish for, whatever you want. So the Buddha is inviting him to ask the questions anyway. So nevertheless, friend, ask whatever you want. And then Atako Alavako Yako Bhagavantan Gataya Ajabasi.
Atako alavako yako bhagavantam gataya ajabasi.
Okay, so then the Yaka Alavaka, he addressed, this is Ajabasi. And Ajabasi is an aorist from I guess the indicative form of the verb would be adibasati, but I don't recall ever seeing this verb adibasati in the present tense. Always we get the aorist. So then the demon Alavaka addressed the Blessed One, Gataya, in verse. So now come his questions. So he says, there will be several groups of questions. King Su de Vi, this is the Trishtubha meter. King Su de Vitang Purisa Sasetang.
King Su Davitang Purisa Sasetang.
King Su Suchinang Sukam Avahati.
King Su Suchinang Sukama Vahati.
King Su Have Sadhu Tarang Rasana.
King Su Have Sadhu Tarang Rasanang.
Katang Jiving Jivita Mahahusetang.
Katang Jiving Jivita Mahahusetang.
Okay, first the Su here represents the Sapali form of a Vedic particle, svid, which is just an interrogative particle. It doesn't have a translatable meaning. It's just used in questions, I think primarily in verse. So he's saying, what? And then the Su, this is a Sunday of Su plus Ida. So what here, and Vitang is the treasure and is qualified by Setam, best, and Purisasa of a person. So what here is the best treasure of a person? Then what well practiced? Then avahati means leads to or brings. And sukang is happiness. And suchinang or chinang is a past participle of charity, which can also give as a past participle, charita. So two past participles can be derived from charity. Chinang or charita. And here is qualified by su, well. So what well practiced brings happiness? And then next third question. King Su Have Sadhu Tarang Rasana. So the word sadhu, and it's not the same as sadhu, not this, it's not this word, but it's a different word, sadhu, which means sweet. And here it has the comparative or relative, but it seems that the sense should be sadhu tamam, the sweetest. So what in have just means indeed or truly. What truly is the sweetest of flavors? Then katang jivitam ahu setam. How living do they call? Ahu is a plural, third person plural. They call the best life. How living do they call the best life? When we live in such a way, how do they call that the best life? So taking all the questions together. So what here is the best treasure of a person? What well practiced brings happiness? What in truly is the sweetest of tastes? And how living do they call it the best life? And we might as well take the Buddha's answers. Sadi davitang purisa sasetang.
Sadi davitang purisa sasetang.
Dhammo suchino sukham avahati.
Dhammo suchino mahavati.
Yeah. Satchang have sadhu tarang rasanam.
Satrang have sadhu tarang rasanang.
Panya jivitam ahusetam.
Panya jiving jivitang ahusetang.
Yeah, so the sad ida is sada ida. So it's a Sunday of the two. So faith here is the best treasure of a person. And the Dhamma, well practiced, brings happiness. Truth indeed is the sweetest of tastes. And one living, and they call one living by wisdom the best life. Okay, so any questions?
Bande, I
Yeah.
have a quick question. So maybe in other place, Buddha also mentioned content as the greatest wealth. So how does that compare to the faith?
Yeah, I mean, the Buddha will use different expressions in different contexts. And maybe the word used for, I don't remember what the Pali word is, but that is referring to wealth. And this is vita, also vitang is a treasure. So it's somewhat different nuance.
Thank you, Bande.
Yes, it shouldn't like sort of pin the expressions down. And so he said this here, so we can't say that there. Okay, any other question? Okay, then if no questions,
Yes, I've got a short question.
good.
I was very surprised when I read that the Buddha calls him Avuso, friend. I thought Avuso was used when you were more or less on a similar level. And it seems to me that this Yaka, well, he hasn't really deserved being called a friend. I was surprised.
Yeah,
Why
actually-
did you call him Avuso?
Yeah, the word abuso, even though we translated friend, because that's what sounds best in English, but it doesn't imply real friendship. It's just, I guess, a somewhat polite but more casual form of address that one person would use to another. Like a senior monk, we'll call a junior monk avuso. Even the monks will sometimes call lay people avuso. So it doesn't imply anything like necessarily like venerable or reverend. It's just a form of address, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Bante.
Okay, any other question? Okay, then we'll end for the day. So let's end, we could do with the 3 bows to the Buddha. 1, 2, 3. And thank you, Kim, for being the reciter along with us.
And bow to Bante. Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bante.
okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bante.
Bante.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bante.
Bante.
Thank you, Bante.
okay.
Bante.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay, I'll sign off now.